Hey, what's going on, guys? Your favorite Venti main Joker back again once again for another Genshin Impact video. Now, as you see, I'm currently not on Venti. I am on Tartagelia, also known as Childe, better known as Childe. I'm going to call him Childe throughout the rest of the video. But apparently his real name is Tartagelia, since Childe is an alias. Now, this character, I got him, luckily, from all those primo gems that I was saving earlier on his banner. And most people are hyping up like Xiao and Zhongli, but I was more interested in Childe, and I have to say, don't sleep on Childe if you happen to, want a really good DPSer, or you just like Childe's playstyle, get him. You can easily test him out with the trial, see if he's to your liking. He can pump out a bunch of DPS when needed, and he is great. So let's get into what Childe is all about, shall we? Now, Childe is a Hydro Archer right here, and his whole gimmick right here with talents will be a thing called Riptide, which was originally called Broken Flow. So he does a normal attack and a charge attack with the bow, but the charged attack, while aiming the power of Hydro, will accumulate within the arrowhead. An arrow fully charged with turret will deal Hydro damage and apply this Riptide effect. Now, what does Riptide do? Well, opponents affected by Riptide will suffer from AoE Hydro damage effects when attacked by Childe in various ways. Damage dealt in this way is considered normal attack damage. Now, there's two versions of Riptide. There's Riptide Flash, which is a fully charged aimed shot that hits an opponent affected by Riptide, deals consecutive bouts of AoE damage, can occur once every 0.7 seconds. And Riptide Burst. Defeating an enemy affected by Riptide creates a Hydro Burst that inflicts the Riptide status on nearby opponents. Now, the thing that you need to be aware of with Childe is his R2 allows him to swap to another stance. His elemental skill, R2, E, whatever your key binding is in whatever console or PC you play. So the way that this works is it unleashes a set of weaponry made of pure water, which is daggers and a spear, dealing 100 damage to surrounding enemies and entering a melee stance. In the stance, Childe's normal and charged attacks change. Normal attack is 6 consecutive Hydro strikes, and charge consumes an amount of stamina to unleash a cross slash dealing Hydro damage. Riptide Slash. Hitting enemy affected by Riptide with a melee attack unleashes a Riptide Slash that deals AoE Hydro damage. Damage dealt in this way is considered elemental skill damage. That's good to know. And can only occur once every 1.5 seconds. After 30 seconds, or when the ability is unleashed again, the skill will end, and Childe will return to his range stance, and the ability will enter a cooldown. Now, you can hold this thing for 30 seconds, but if you do hold his melee stance for 30 seconds, you will be hit with like a 40 to 45 second cooldown. But if you cancel it early, then the cooldown is reduced. So you could literally go like 6 swings and have a 6-second cooldown. It's actually pretty sick. Yep, the longer that Childe stays in melee stance, the longer the cooldown. And then we go to his Q / his triangle, whatever key binding you have, and whatever system you're playing on. Havoc Obliteration. This has 2 different abilities, depending on whether he's in ranged or melee. In ranged, he fires a Hydro Imbued magical arrow, dealing AoE Hydro damage and applying Riptide status to anything that he hits with it, and returns a portion of its energy cost after use. Decent. But if you're looking for big boy damage, you'll be you'll be proccing Riptide on everybody, and you'd use the melee stance version, the Light of Obliteration, which performs a slash with large AoE, dealing massive Hydro damage to all surrounding enemies, which triggers Riptide Blast. Riptide Blast. When obliterating waters hit an opponent affected by Riptide, it clears the Riptide status and triggers a Hydro explosion that deals Hydro damage. Damage dealt this way is also considered elemental burst damage. So his whole thing, you're going to be in your bow, applying Riptide, and something to your melee stance, which by the way is clean as hell, and getting those bursts off, and then canceling back. So there's a skill gap on when to cancel your melee stance and go back to your ranged stance, and if you don't really like using the bow there, you know, you could have like a DPS support that you can swap to that can pump out some good DPS, like Fischl, Xingqiu, Bennett, something like that while you're on cooldown. And his first ascension thing is Never Ending, which just extends the duration of Riptide a couple extra seconds, so it starts at 22, then it goes to 30. And then his Ascension 4 is really, really good. Highly recommend it. Sword of Torrents. When Childe is in his... when he's in his R2 is E, Raging Tides, melee stance, or if his normal or charge attacks do crit damage, they'll apply Riptide status to the affected enemy. Which is really, really nice if you know you're just still keeping him on the field as DPS even after swapping out a melee stance with the bow. So, as you can see, he is a crit-based character. Highly recommend building crit rate and damage on him. And his passive, one of the best passives in the game, Master of Weaponry, which literally just increases your own party members' normal attack levels by 1. See? Right there, blue. It's at 2. I really need to get these books. When Sunday rolls around, I'm going to be farming the crap out of these books. He does take the Books of Freedom. So mine is Childe is a little bit underleveled, but he can still pump out some good damage. And as you can see, since it's blue for 3, it's actually level 2, but because of the passive, it's now at 3. Now, what weapons would you like to use on Childe? Well, there's some decent weapons overall to use for Childe. If you have the 5-star Skyward Harp, definitely use that. You can get it from the weapon banner. Right now it has a rate up. Along with the weapon I'm using, which is Rust, which is actually Childe's weapon shown off in the trailer. Rust is really, really nice for him. Really freaking great. Love this bow. Love this bow a fuck ton. And again, it's in the rate up, and it's a 4-star, so it's easier to obtain the Skyward Harp. And you could refine it, which a refined Rust does around the same damage as a Skyward Harp. So if you can, you can get a refinement 3 or 4, you're dealing more damage than Skyward Harp. Another good option could be the Prototype Crescent, or the Battle Pass Bow, the Verdescent Hunt. If that's your thing, that gives you crit rate instead of attack. So that is really, really good. Favonius Warbow, if you don't have any of these bows, is a good option. But if you want a 3-star that could possibly pump out more damage than the Favonius Warbow, and you have a bunch of it, Slingshot is an option. Slingshot's really good if you're trying to do more of a budget and you just want to use a 3-star weapon on Childe. Of course, you're not doing better overall damage that you could be doing. Like for the base attack, you can't get that higher. But it is a crit rate booster. And the Slingshot's ability is nice. If normal attacks or aimed shots hit a target within 0.3 seconds of being fired, increase damage by a percentage. Right now it's 48 because it's rank 3. Otherwise, decrease damage. So you can just rapidly fire it. Boom, get the bonus damage. Get everything going, and everything's good. Artifacts. Artifacts are weird because you do not have we don't have a Hydro artifact yet. You don't have a Hydro artifact. That has not come out yet. Otherwise, I would highly recommend at least a 2-piece of that, or a full set of that. A full set of that would be great. I've currently been running 2-piece Berserker, 2-piece Gladiator, 2-piece Berserker for that crit rate, 2-piece Gladiator for that attack. But one thing I really want to run, if you want to run a full set, Martial Artist would work if you want 4 stars, but if you want to try to go for 5 stars, I do highly recommend the Noblesse set, which, if I can find it, where is it? I have a piece of the Noblesse set, I think it's a feather. Yep. The Noblesse set, a 4-piece, would give it elemental burst damage to up his obliteration, his Q, / triangle. And the 4-piece, using elemental burst, increases all party members' attack by 20% for 12 seconds. This effect cannot stack. So, that's an attack buff just for using an elemental burst. Probably one of the best 4 pieces that you could possibly use for Childe right now. The Gladiator set 4-piece does not work, that I know of, since he is technically a bow user. Now, what you want, of course, you know, you can't really control the flower, but you really want, overall, if you can get it, Elemental Mastery, crit rate, crit damage, and energy array charge. Those are the 4 you would really want to Childe, specifically crit rate and crit damage. This is a decent piece, so I kept it for now. Berserker's Rose. For the helmet, I need a better helmet, but I do have attack percentage, so it's decent, but you'd preferably want crit rate, or crit damage. Yeah, crit damage. You want crit damage on the helmet, or crit rate. If you can get one of those, you'll be golden. I'm pretty sure there's only crit damage, though, so crit damage. I have attack percentage, so oh well. And this one's decent with elemental mastery and crit rate, so it's decent. For the goblet, now, these right here, crit rate, crit damage, and attack, good for the bottom stats. But HP is meh. But what you mainly want on the goblet as the main stat, attack percentage works, but I highly recommend trying to go for hydro damage. Hydro damage bonus is the way to go. If you do have attack percentage and it's a decent rolled cup, then you're good. But you really, really would prefer hydro bonus damage on your cup. For this, you want attack percentage, but, you know, this is already being used for me by my Bennett. And this is, in my opinion, way better because the stats on this are freaking cracked. With crit rate and crit damage and a bunch of attack. And then the feather, you want attack. And of course, you want energy recharge, elemental mastery, crit damage, and crit rate, preferably as the substats. Those are the substats you want. You want Childe to be a crit machine. So that way, if you're using him as a main DPS, and he's out of his melee stance, you cancel it for save and cooldown, yada yada yada. You can just crit with the normal attacks, do a crap ton of damage, and you're good. That's where my rest comes into play, because it does more damage without aiming down sides of the bow. Aim shot, you know, charge shot. If I don't do that, just normal attack, I do more damage. So everything's good there. His Constellations, if you happen to want to whale, are pretty good, although I highly don't recommend whaling. Because, you know, if you can't whale, please don't whale. That takes a lot of money. Or you gotta be lucky as hell. The Constellations are overall pretty good with decreasing cooldown of your E. Opponents affected by Riptide are defeated. Childe regenerates energy. Increase the level of that. If Childe is in the melee stance, it triggers Riptide Slash. Against opponents on the field affected by Riptide every 4 seconds. Otherwise triggers Riptide Flash instead of Riptide Slash. Riptide Slash and Riptide Flash triggered by the Constellation effect are not subjected to time intervals and would typically apply to these two Riptide effects, nor do they have any effect on those time intervals. And of course they'll upgrade, and then when his ultimate's cast in melee stance, the cooldown of his melee stance is reset. Really, really nice. But, of course, you know, you have to either get really lucky or throw money at the game, which I highly don't recommend you throw money at the game. Childe is fine as he is, as a no constellation. The constellations are just the bread and butter. So, of course, we're going to test him on, for some reason, everybody's favorite boss, the Fire Flower. So, I'll see you guys when we're at the Fire Flower. Alright. Here we are at the Fire Flower, and I'm just going to see how much damage I can do with Childe. Only have to shoot you as a healer if needed. I'll apply Broken Flow. Look at that.
Brace yourself. This is going to hurt.
Maybe throw in some Venti.
By royal decree.
basically by himself. Childe has half health the flower. And this is a underleveled Childe with underleveled talents, so keep that in mind. He can do more damage if you level him up. He's level 70 against level 72 flower. So do keep that in mind. And my talents aren't as high as I'd like them to be. They're lower than 5. One of them's at 4. 2 of them are at 3. One of them's at 1. Actually, one of them's at 2. One of them's at 3. One of them's at 4.
No time to lose.
Already, Childe doing good damage. If I were to throw in some electro, then I would have been able to do it.
Think you can get away? Wouldn't gliding be faster?
Childe, I'm gonna need you to go in. Gotta wait a little bit. Oh, that broken flow, aka Riptide. Wait for cooldown to end. And this is without a Bennett as well, so no other attack buffs. And styling points. And I'll just use my primordiums here. Why not? And there you go. So that's Childe there. That was Childe there. Pretty good damage overall, mainly by himself. Of course, if I were to properly stack everybody else in the team to do more damage, then that would work. And that would do better. Speaking of teams, some options for team building. Childe is basically good in any scenario, any team you can think of. He is a Hydra character. This team works here. I got Childe, main DPS, official DPS support, and you can use official to help, or if you have a Lisa and you don't have official, then you can use Lisa. But there's an event coming up where we should all get a free official guaranteed, so you should have your official at that point. For electrocharge, which is a very good elemental burst, you know, Childe, official, electrocharged, boom. You can have Childe with Mona or Xingqiu, so that way, you know, Mona for support DPS, and you could get Soothing Water to increase the healing if needed. Or you can go Xingqiu, because Xingqiu is actually pretty underrated, just like Bennett. And he can heal a little bit and try to keep Childe up a little bit more, and you get the increased healing due to Soothing Water proccing. You could run, like, I don't know, some random fire element, like maybe Xiangling, because she is basically the Pyro version official in the sense that she can constantly keep out pumping Pyro damage with her elemental skill. And maybe pair her with Bennett for some healing and some attack buffs. And you also get the Fervent Flames to increase attack. So that is another good team. Again, you can use Venti. Venti's really good support, but if you don't have Venti, you know, you can just swap, I don't know, swap it out for another Hydro. So, you know, like Xingqiu. So Bennett and Xingqiu, or Bennett and Barbara, can constantly swap healing. And you get the Soothing Water incoming healing bonus. Still, but that might just slightly overdo that there. Again, Barbara will work. Kaching will be nice if you want a nice little sword user. If you want another DPS to be able to swap out, like you don't like the bow and you want a, and you just want to be in the melee sense and you want to tag out for another main DPS, that it is doable. So you can use like a Badu or like a Razor. And then for healers, you can use Diona. Diona's on the banner with Childe. She's a really good cryo archer healer. But if you have a 5-star Chi-Chi, you know, Chi-Chi could work too. And basically that's some of the team there. He's very, very, very flexible when it comes to the types of teams that you can build him around. I personally enjoy my Venti,
Behold, the
Childe,
princess endeavored to-
Fischl, and then either a Bennett or a Chi-Chi, you know, like some form of healer buffer. So that's basically me there. That's Childe so far. Childe does insane damage. I freaking love playing the man. He is my new DPS. I had picked him. I'm probably not going to get lucky with Zhongli. I might get lucky with Xiao. But now my Primo Gems are kind of destroyed. My stock. And I'm trying to be as free to play as possible. Only getting the Vulcan Moon. And maybe the Battle Pass. So that's Childe. Very insane guy. Very, very fluid. And very, very fun. Melee stance. Unique character with a skill gap. But once you learn, as you can see, I canceled early and it was 8 seconds instead of like 45 seconds. If you can learn to mess around with him and master when to cancel, he will be there and will completely destroy everything, especially also if you level him up. Again, recommended bows, Skyward Harp, Rust. If you want a 3-star Slingshot, another good 4-star Viridescent Bow or Prototype Crescent. I hope you all enjoyed, because I enjoyed making the video myself. Childe is a very, very, very fun character. My main new DPS.
Are up to.
And in all honesty, you know, if he seems like the type of character you want, then go ahead and roll for him. And if he still does not pique your interest, or you really, really want that Zhongli or Xiao, then by all means save up. But for all, sorry, Zhongli and Xiao cultist fanboys and fangirls, but Childe had won me over, both looks-wise, gameplay-wise, and I freaking love his DPS. And that's all for now. Hope you enjoyed my review on Childe. Very insane damage dealer. Freaking love the man. And he looks sexy as hell. Like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe only if you see fit. Hit that notification bell to stay notified of future streams and videos. And with that, I'll catch you on the next one.
To seek out our enemies, then.